Been an intriguing start to the F1 season. We've had 3 different constructors win in the first 4 races, 7 drivers on the podium and 4 DNFs from the big teams so far. Today we go to the Spanish Grand Prix, which in real life looks to be another race that's going to leave us, unfortunately, in the next year or so, being relocated to the city of Madrid, I think. But this is the points table as we go into this race. Rubens Barrichello leads the World Drivers' Championship. He leads after finishing in P2 in Imola last time out, but it's all very close. 10 points and a DNF for somebody else, and the championship lead could be held as anybody as low down as Fernando Alonso going into the end of this race. Of course, this being Fernando Alonso's home race, and he's only had a best result of a 3rd place so far this season. In the constructors, it's quite close as well. Ferrari are out on top at the moment, but McLaren have already had 3 DNFs from front-running positions, so they really should be closer, and Renault's Giancarlo Fisichella retired from the front last time out. Disappointingly, it looks once again here like we have got a qualifying glitch. Looking at practice, the guys were setting about, I think it was about 22.8s or 23s in the first sector, and then as they come across the line, the time shows 21.6 or 21.8. So no idea what all that's about. We had that in Imola, although Imola was about 3 seconds quicker. So hopefully over a lap we might be able to qualify half decently, but I think because of this glitch we're going to struggle again here today. One thing that's instantly noticeable with these cars, and to be fair we haven't really seen it on previous tracks, is how much less downforce they've got through this sequence of corners. This next one, T3, used to be pretty much flat, but there's no way you can take that one flat. That's actually by far the best run I've had through that corner so far. And even with that, it's a 23.2. Knowing that the AI are conspicuously a second and a half quicker than that, we're going to have to have a very good other 2 sectors of the lap to be competitive. I think we probably did the best we could there, you know, knowing that we've got this dodgy situation in Sector 1. We sit ahead of 4 drivers, which is better than we could have done in Imola. So, again, it's not going to be a great qualifying. But looking at the rest of the sectors, we're comparable pace in Sector 2. We're quicker in Sector 3. We had a good 3rd sector, and it was that saved us, to be honest. If we hadn't have had such a good 3rd sector, we might have been languishing possibly on the back row. But that's a shock. I thought all 8 would have beat. Takuma Sato's behind us. He's had mixed qualifying sessions so far this year. 13th, 15th and 14th in the first 3 races, but started to get a little bit of form with 6th last time out. So Honda won't be very happy with that. And JB only P12 as well, so possibly that BAR isn't anywhere near as competitive here as it was in the last race. Well, what drama we have at the end of Sunday qualifying. Barrichello nor Montoya finishing their laps on Sunday, so they will start from the back of the grid. Barrichello, the Drivers' World Championship leader, Montoya, the winner of the last race. These two, Barrichello and Montoya, were 1-2 in the last race. Instead, this time, they start last and second last. We're P14. You can see both lap times were pretty similar. We've got a 22.9 in the first sector. I don't think we could have done any better than that. What I have decided to do is pit a little bit earlier in this race on lap 5. Not that I don't think it'll make a massive difference. I think it's more psychological, but a little bit less fuel on board. That might help, not being in as much traffic. But let's see what happens. Looking at the rest of the grid, because of those 2 drivers being at the back, a best qualifying of the season for Felipe Massa in P5, Christian Klein P6, David Coulthard P7, Red Bull. Both of those drivers have finished in P9 so far this season, so let's see if one of them can get their first points of the season. Fisichella gets his 2nd pole in a row, Fernando Alonso alongside him, so could either one of those pick up Renault's first win of the season? We're away for the Spanish Grand Prix. We start P14. It's a decent start. We've not really made up too much ground off of the start line particularly. It's a 14-lap race today, so it's the longest race in terms of laps of the season so far. That BAR coming round our outside, but we brake a little bit later. Nudge Takuma Sato, no heroics going into that first corner. We've retained position, but let's see if we can make any around this 2nd and 3rd corner. You can see that timing glitch is clearly a glitch, because if the drivers were indeed a second quicker in the first sector, then we wouldn't be getting past them. But up to P10 at the start, that's a respectable start, and we might be able to just jump up the inside. We decide against it. And unfortunately we've lost 3 positions there. We went for it and then didn't quite commit, so we had to brake to the outside, and that possibly wasn't something we should have really gone for. And such is our braking ability, particularly over these midfield drivers, that we're just whacking into the back of them. Again, as I've said on previous videos, the damage model on this game isn't really up with previous games. I think we've had a bit of a collision with a car behind as well. That might be the BAR, possibly Takuma Sato, who's not really made much ground at the start. Because Mark Webber was so slow going into that corner, we ended up actually going wide with the speed that we gained. So it's actually been quite a scruffy start. We got up to P10 originally, but as a matter of fact, we have actually lost positions. And the trouble is, the AI of these midfield cars are so slow that they're actually a hindrance being behind. They're holding us up, I feel, from taking our normal racing line. So at the end of lap 1, we are only P15. That is not where we wanted to be after the first lap whatsoever. That's Takuma Sato back. And the Toyota. We might actually be helped today. Well, we haven't been hindered in the past particularly, but by the Red Bull train. It looks like one of the Red Bulls once again is holding up a train, as we've seen in quite a few races so far this season. They seem to have a good qualifying car, but haven't got the race pace at all that they show in those early qualifying sessions. So that might help us out. We've barged into the back of Mark Webber again at the same corner we did a lap earlier. Can we get Mark Webber at the last corner? No, he defends the inside line, means we can't get past him, so that doesn't mean we get too good a run onto the start-finish straight, to be honest. Again, a fastest lap of a 1:19.7, considering we were doing 1:17s in qualifying, and that Toyota has come out of nowhere to get us on the straight. I guess we didn't get a good run at the last corner, but we'll just nicely get a good run on the brakes on the Toyota to retake that place. That was a real surprise to see that Toyota just streaming up our inside, but as we get past one Toyota, we will take another one. Looks like Mark Webber has got past that Toyota of Jarno Trulli, and we'll take the position of Mark Webber. So it is the Red Bulls in 7th and 8th at the moment, so they might have half a chance of getting their first points of the season possibly, and it is helping us get within grips of a couple of points. We like catching Williams cars, don't we, on that corner? Blimey, I mean, we went up the inside there. Hyde felt it is his line, so he can defend where he wants, but because he defended the inside line, there was no room for us to get past. Even though we are quicker, but out of the right-hander there, we will happily take that position off him. I think we've got Jack Villeneuve in front. That was a little bit wide there. It's not great. We've come to the end of lap 3, though. We're in the position that we actually were early on in the race. Much better lap that time out. So 1:18.7 set there. And it's Jack Villeneuve up ahead. Got to keep an eye out for Nick Heidfeld, who might just get us on the straight. But I think on the brakes we'll be fine to keep that P10 position. But looking at the mini-map, we can see the two Red Bulls up in front, even the one that's quite a distance away. Based on the pace from last race, that's probably going to be DC. But we can't see anybody else apart from that. Don't mind if you do. 2 cars in 2 corners. So that puts us up into the points. And as we saw in the last race, there is a clear divide between the best and the rest. That's both Red Bulls dispatched now. So we're into P7, which is probably where we should be on pace. Anywhere higher might be a little bit of a struggle, but looking at the mini-map, actually, the guys in front aren't as far ahead. They haven't got as much of a gap as I thought they would do. Look at that mini-map below. There is an absolute train behind one of the drivers there, so the midfield all getting stuck up in that. And hopefully in the pits, to be fair, I think that we're fine. I don't think we'll get held up behind those drivers. Of course, we are pitting this lap, ironically, just as we've come into a little bit of clean air. But I think it was still the right decision, because if we had left it till later, we could have been battling some of these other cars and again losing some time. So to get some perspective on it, we're 3.2 seconds behind Jenson Button. We're going to come into the pits at the end of this one. I think we've got half a chance to finish higher than 7th today. I don't think it's going to be a podium position necessarily, but we've got half a chance of doing decently. It seems like for the first time we are the earliest stopper. I can't see anybody coming in ahead of us. So, oh, it's a bad pit stop. Oh, blimey. Nearly an unsafe release as well there. I think Christian Alba's behind us. We selected square a little bit too early, and that penalised us no end. So we've lost about 3 seconds in the pit stops. That isn't ideal at all, because I think 3 seconds would have been catchable to JB. 6 seconds? I'm not so sure. But the big thing is now we've got warm tyres, so have they come out of the blankets? I don't know, because to have warm tyres at this point seems interesting straight away. So there's not anything to do with warming up the tyres over this lap, unless they've warmed up very quickly. Well, that's Felipe Massa, who's only 1.8 seconds ahead. He would have been ahead of Jenson Button, wouldn't he? So, not a very good pit stop at all for Felipe Massa, considering he must have been at least, if he was the car ahead of Jenson, at least 4 seconds ahead. So, That's possibly encouraging for us that the undercut might well work here. Or that Felipe Massa's had a bad pit stop, but nevertheless it is one more that we can pick off. And as a minimum, providing we don't make any mistakes, pick up another couple of points here from what was a bad qualifying session. That's all the pit stops done then, I'd imagine, at the end of lap 8. And we are running P7. Was that we were running before the pit stops? I feel like it was P7 or P8. I can't quite remember now. But it is Felipe Massa, the man who has lost out the most, it seems, of the front runners. He's quite a way behind the train. I caught a glimpse of the BAR of Jenson Button. There's a Renault ahead of him, so that front row start for Renault hasn't translated to a front row finish necessarily. Let's see, we got a Ferrari then in P4, that would be, wouldn't it? Or P3? No, it would be P3, wouldn't it? Because you've got Massa, Button, the Renault, then the Ferrari. So, where are the two McLarens in this race? There's nobody that's gone out yet. Speaking of dropping back, well, we're not really dropping back. We're 1.6 seconds behind Felipe Massa. We're not closing at the rate of knots that I thought we would. The Felipe Massa on his day in that Sauber is pretty competitive, so it shows just why you got that Ferrari seat in 2006. It's been a good lap. You can see we're just behind Felipe Massa. Can we get a good run out of one of the corners and overtake him? A little bit hot into the right-hander there, but can we set up a move onto the start-finish straight? We know we're not all that quick on the start-finish straight, at least compared to the front runners, but with the effect of slipstream, can we get past Felipe Massa? We set a 1:17.4. I think we certainly can. We know we're going to beat him on the brakes as well. So that is, I don't want to say anything too prematurely, but we didn't have to do anything too mad on the brakes there. And we're up to P6. We've got 4 laps to go. Let's have a look what the gap is to Jenson Button in front. I think it is going to be just a little bit too far, unfortunately, at this point in the race. It is 2.5, which isn't actually as far as I thought it would be. So a second quicker a lap to be behind him at the end of the last lap. I think that's possible. 2 attempts quicker on that lap, and if you look at the lap, it was a 17.2. That's pretty close to our optimum pace. So I think a second a lap might just be out of reach at this point. I think 6th might be our potential. Well, I don't know where this has come from, whether we've had a good lap or Jenson's had a bad lap. But considering we only gained 2/10 on the last lap, 1.2 seconds quicker than Jenson on this lap already. And we get such a good run through Sector 3 that unbelievably from being 2.3 seconds beyond it to 16.1, so that's an absolute whopper. I think that was probably helped by the fuel coming off towards the end of the race. But we've done Jenson Button on the straight. We'll need to get him into the corner as well on the brakes. And that is P5. We couldn't do Fernando Alonso as well, could we? For thinking that we could only finish P6. Fernando Alonso is P4 and only 1.3 seconds up the road. And we seem to have got a little bit of rhythm. Don't want to jinx anything. But it seems like as the fuel is coming off, we seem to be going into real hyper mode. Once again, get a good run out the last couple of corners. In fact, we're that much quicker. We'll take him even before we get onto the straight, which does put us under pressure of Alonso then re-overtaking us. I don't think the AI are that clever, but I could be cynical and say, well, Alonso's maybe give up the position so that he can come storming back past on the straight. I think he's a bit quicker. You might just see him on the right-hand side briefly, but we are okay on the brakes to take that position. So on the final lap, we're not going to get past Michael Schumacher barring a miracle here. I think it is Michael that is up ahead. But I think there's a McLaren lead in the race. So actually, yeah, it is a McLaren lead in the race. So we've got, of course, I completely forgot, didn't I? Montoya and Barrichello both qualified at the back. And it looks like they have been held up in that train, so they're not going to score any points today. That's massive in terms of the championship at this early stage. That's akin, really, to a DNF. But speaking of DNFs, with a couple of corners left, I think I can say with some optimism that nothing's going to happen here, that this is the first race without any DNFs. We've mucked up that corner. If Alonso was any closer, he might have re-overtook us going up to the line. So we have been helped today by Barrichello and Montoya both starting low down and not being able to get anywhere near with their positions. But I'm very happy, considering our qualifying position, of finishing a very respectable P4. Kimi Räikkönen takes his second win of the season, very much deserved. Renault couldn't do anything with that front row start. I think Alonso will be disappointed in particular, only being able to finish in 5th. Double points finish for Sauber though. Jacques Villeneuve gets his second points position of the season, so a good day for him. David Coulthard again, so close, P9 for him. That's his second P9 finish of the season. In fact, that's his successive P9. 3 P9 finishes for Red Bull that still can't quite get onto the podium. Nick Heidfeld P10, Trulli and Schumacher P11 and 12. Look at Montoya and Barrichello though, just could not clear that train of Webber, the two Toyotas in front. So it's a sad day for them. Sato P16, clean all the way down in P17, so a bad day for him. Karthikeyan in 18, Albers 19 and Saka in 20. So the drivers' standings, because Barrichello had a bad day, I said that there was a potential for any one of 5, I think, to come out of here leading the championship. Well, Barrichello did have a bad day. We're level on points at the top of the championship standings with him. Raikkonen and Schumacher only a point behind. Alonso and Fisichella only a couple of points behind them. This is so close in the championship. I don't think anybody scored their first points, so it is still David Coulthard. David Coulthard's gone ahead of Ralf Schumacher now on account of having multiple 9th place finishes, I guess. Nick Heidfeld still, he's actually overtook Jarno Trulli in the standings, so he, I guess, has his best performance of the season. Karthikeyan 18th, and sadly the two Minardi still stuck at the back. Renault, though, the best team of the day, but Ferrari still lead the Constructors' standings, but Renault now only a point behind in the Constructors' standings. And once again, Red Bull so close. I think they will score a point with a couple of DNFs, but Toyota, their best result, they might just get one. Ralf Schumacher getting a 9th in the second race in Malaysia, but Minardi, I don't see them getting any points. Their best race of the season so far, a P16, so I think they'll be pointless throughout the season. Well, in the next race, we head towards a circuit that you certainly cannot afford to have a bad qualifying, so I really hope that there's not a qualifying glitch there for Monaco in the 6th round. If you've enjoyed this, leave a like down below, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for regular F105 career. And I'll be back in a few days for the Jewel in the Crown, the Monaco Grand Prix.